I've been searching pretty vigorously for about 37 years for God. I probably have studied the Course in Miracles for years, and Bartholomew books, and conversations with anything. And when I would go to the internet and look at the video clips of you for a couple of years, and I would look at it and say, for some reason it makes sense, but never really went after it until recently. Since January, an entire series of events in my life occurred, and on June 27th I woke up and looked out my kitchen window, and I somehow felt that everything that I had accomplished meant nothing. It meant absolutely nothing to me anymore. I didn't care about it. And whatever I thought that I was achieving by building this successful life meant nothing. And I went into an outpatient program for post-traumatic stress disorder. And at the same time I was in this outpatient program, I began to open up your work. And within the first, I think I downloaded the first seminar, whichever one I did. By the time I watched the entire seminar, I got it. I completely got it. It was everything I was searching for. And when I went looking for God years ago with a vengeance, with a real vengeance. And since I downloaded the first seminar, I think I've bought everything. I don't know what else I could possibly buy except the meditation, which I'm waiting for. And I think I'm very fortunate because I can't think of anything that I want other than what I've gotten by your teachings. Everything I was seeking or searching for, you've answered. Just answered everything. I've been seeing a psychiatrist for the last 8 months, and when I first started to see him, he was going to institutionalize me. I had reached such a point of despair. And if you were to talk to him today, he cannot believe what he's seeing, the transformation, to the point where I think it's changing his career. He is so befuddled by the changes. And just as you said, I sit with people now and they just look at me and go, what's happened to you? There's something completely different about you.
You know what's interesting? A lot of what you've said is interesting, but we want to reflect something back to you that will take this to an even deeper place for you. And that is, through all that you'd been living, with all of the success that you'd been accomplishing, you had been building your vortex. In other words, knowing what you don't want, knowing what you do want. And even with so much success that so many people are seeking, it still left you asking for things that were going into your vortex. In other words, all of that time you were building your vortex. And the increasing despair that you were feeling was not because you were slipping away from success. It was because you were parlaying your success into the stratosphere while not following it vibrationally. So there reached a sort of tipping point where you were asking with such fervor but not allowing the answer to come, because you and almost everyone else is looking for God in all the wrong places. He's on the internet. So as your desire is building and building and building, and it's interesting because when you want something and don't know how to accomplish it, so you don't allow it, it just makes you want it more. And then when you still don't allow it, it just makes you want it more. And when you still don't allow it, it just makes you want it more. So without realizing it, you were parlaying this expanded version of you into a place that, because the rest of you wasn't coming along with it, you were feeling a stronger and a stronger and a stronger tug of war. And then isn't it logical that once you found a way to begin allowing yourself to turn in the direction of who you were, it all came together in a very powerful way?
Unbelievable. I was thinking of this as a couple of people talking before. I've been in AA for 27 years, and there's a saying that they have. I was making a joke to myself. You should put a sign up and just keep pointing to it. And the saying is, let go or be dragged. Let it go or be dragged. And I have found that to be true for myself. If I don't let something go, it will drag me. and just keep on dragging me.
Well, the reason for that is because as you are expanding and becoming, this larger part of you is calling you. And you have to put up quite a bit of resistance in the form of beliefs that keep you from going. And we tease our physical friends and say, you're going. The question is, are you going willingly? Because when you have what you call your death experience, we call it your croaking experience because there is no death. We try to be disrespectful of it. When you withdraw your attention from this time-space reality, you will reemerge dramatically and quickly into this vibrational frequency of who you really are. So that's a very good advice sign. You are going. The question is, are you going willingly?
That's right.
We are happy that Jerry is talking to you a little bit about this meditation CD that is coming, because we want to consider with you something that you have not been thinking about, but we've been talking about all morning here today. In other words, it's something that's sort of sneaking up on you, and as you become aware of it, it's going to serve you, those of you who are ready for it especially, in a very powerful way. And that is, often we speak of the subject of meditation as the process by which you quiet your mind, thereby distracting yourself from the confusion or the clutter of resistance. When you quiet your mind, you stop thought. And when you stop thought, you stop resistance. And when you stop resistance, you allow your vibrational frequency to raise. So for years we've been saying that we encourage meditation as a sort of timeout, as a sort of neutral zone where your vibrational pull, where law of attraction is not serving up to you so much that's been active, because in the time of quieting your mind, nothing is active. Recently we've been saying to our physical friends who are coming to these gatherings that if you accept the reality of this vortex and you begin to consider that every day, at least once, the vortex will take you in, because you can't hold yourself in vibrational resistance to a current that is that strong constantly. You just can't. You got to sleep. You'll be caught at a weak moment. And by a weak moment, we mean a moment when you're distracted from the things that have been holding you out of the vortex. So the vortex takes you in and takes you in and takes you in. Now, usually, the moment you come to your senses and you come right back out. That's what you mean when you say, I'm waiting for the other shoe to drop. In the moment that you begin feeling good about something, most of you who are not accustomed to feeling good about something begin to then consider the other side of it almost immediately. So the vortex takes you in, you sort of feel unfamiliar in there, and out you go. But the thing that we're saying to you is the vortex takes you in, it takes you in, it takes you in many times in every day. So now we've been saying to you that if you will be aware that the vortex is taking you in, and suddenly you find yourself feeling a little more exhilaration about something than usual, if you will stop and consciously acknowledge, I must be in a moment of non-resistance, I must be in the vortex, and then you will try to milk the moment just for a little bit. Don't think too hard, because if you think too hard, the vortex will kick you out. But just feel the feeling of it, feel the ease of it. The words for Esther were ease and flow, ease and flow. The comfort, the ease and flow. What you will begin to notice is that you can, from inside the vortex, begin practicing the vibration of it. And as you begin to practice the vibration of it a little more in every day, what happens is your overall mean or average along this emotional scale begins to move into less resistant vibrational frequency until it begins to feel more natural for you to be in that good feeling state. Now, you've heard, if you've been listening to us at all, and many of you have, you've heard all of that before. But what we want to say to you now is something that is new and powerful. And as you digest it, it's going to serve you and show you through your own personal example exactly what we're talking about, because words don't teach, it's only life experience that teaches. We want you to consider this concept. And those of you who've been in the chair already here today, this is especially for you because you queued this up. As you relax with an attitude of focusing on your breathing, and you don't need this new meditation CD to do it. It will help you, but focus on your breathing. It will help you to quiet your mind. As you focus on your breathing with some intention of holding some rhythm, your mind will be quieted and you will move into the vortex. Now, if you are able to sustain that absence of resistance for a little while, what's going to begin to happen to you is, since you're now in the vortex, thoughts are going to begin to materialize from inside the vortex. Jerry and Esther have been meditating for years, and specifically with our encouragement every day for the last about 60 days. And a few days ago, while they were lying on the bed, both meditating, and both focusing on their breathing, and both entered the vortex where a whole stream of conscious thought rendezvoused with them. And they were individually and collectively transported into conversations and ideas that were thrilling to each of them. And then the music stopped, and it was quiet for a minute. And Jerry said to Esther, "Was your mind quiet?" And Esther said, "No." "Was yours?" And Jerry said, "No." And then they said to each other, "What happened to us?" And we said, "The manifestation from inside the vortex begins like that." In other words, the thoughts begin to come. A rampage of thoughts, an avalanche of thoughts, of good-feeling thoughts. You find yourself intoxicated. It's like feeding at a buffet where everything there is so delicious you just can't decide which thing to put in your mouth next. The thought buffet from inside the vortex. So what we're saying to you is meditation begins to take on a whole new understanding when you meditated to get in the vortex, but once in the vortex, the mind of the vortex, which is the mind of your source, which is the coalesced, which is the gathered, which is the unfolding of that which is coming, is revealed to you, or you are experiencing the revelation of. In other words, that's what you're reaching for. You're reaching for the insight from inside the vortex. But so as we visit with those like you, we're having two different conversations depending upon where you are. We're having the conversation of how to get in the vortex, which is quieting your mind, and then we're having the conversation of letting your mind go wild with the thoughts that are in the vortex. For Jerry and Esther, they knew without question what had happened to them, because the rampage of thoughts that were flowing, different thoughts for each of them, but in that high-flying, good-feeling place, there was no question as they commented together and chewed it over with us that what they had experienced was the materialization of ideas from inside the vortex. In other words, the meditative process had tuned them to the frequency of that higher knowing, and they stayed there long enough that they were then be able to articulate through vision, through knowing, through the thought process, the fuller version of that. Are you following us? In other words, we want you to feel the tangibleness of this vortex. We no longer want it to be just that spot on the floor that Abraham is pointing at. We want you to understand that it is a vibrational state of being that will reveal to you, at first, just ideas that are pleasing to ponder, but eventually ideas that are so full of interest and intrigue that you will be compelled into action. You will get insights about things. You'll have ideas for book titles. You'll have ideas for book subjects. Whole visions of artistic things will flow to you. Songs will be downloaded to you while you're in the vortex. You'll see the face of your lover. You'll know where your lover is. You'll know where to go. You'll know what to do. You'll feel the well-being of your planet. In other words, when you get into the vortex, the fullness of that which you've been asking for is revealed to you, and it's no wonder that when you're not in the vortex, it feels like you've got your feet stuck in the mud. You get a sense of what we're talking about?